just so you know, you probably don't care, but like back when I taught this class, I had a whole Java class that I taught in when I was at Blackhawk Technical College. The reason I'm telling you that is you've already gotten probably the equivalent of the first 3 weeks in a day and a half. Now you might say, well, that's fine. Then why the hell are we doing it so fast? Why don't we just slow down? Because you need to have a little basic understanding of Java. But I don't even know if Paul's doing this. His people might have already built an Android app. But I don't think that that's the right way to do it. I think you need to have a little bit of a foundation of Java to understand what you're doing. Now that's my feeling. And I don't know what Paul's doing, all right? We don't talk as much as I know we probably should. There were a couple things on here, just so you know, if you look on the screen, please, you're going to have to change these or it's not going to work. All right, so if you look up on the screen, where we did the get gross pay, yeah, this really typically gets our a getter does return a type of value, right? This should have been double right here. So for your gross pay, make it public double get gross pay and return gross at the bottom. All right, make it double and return gross. So add those two things to your get gross pay. All right, giving you a second to do that. Then after you've done all that, go down to the bottom of the program. And I probably mistyped this. Make sure your last one looks like this. If you don't make those changes I just showed you, you're going to get an error. All right, but that should be correct. Should be. We are going to write about 40 or 50 lines. That will be it for today. I know, I mean, like I said, I know this is draining for people. I get it. All right. Tomorrow we're basically going to combine this with what we did earlier where we had all those different fields. And we're going to make, we're going to add the other stuff to it. So you'll already have a lot of it done. All right, now we're doing something that we've never done before in this class. Again, if you haven't done so, do a file, save all. Please, file, save all. Right now, we've got a class. It's called Payroll05. You may or may not realize this. We can compile this. We cannot run it. We cannot run this class because it does not have a main. And all Java classes that you run must have a main. So we're going to make another class right now. Okay? Do it the same way we've done it, just so you know. Typically the way I do this, and it's not that you have to, since the class is called Payroll05, I'm going to call my class that I'm about to make Payroll05 Driver, because it's going to drive the program, because that's what main is. So I'm going to come in here, and where we've got all this other stuff, I'm again going to right mouse click on my source folder. I'm going to again choose new. I'm going to again choose Java class. You've seen this several times. And I'm going to type in Payroll05 Driver with a big D. There's nothing significant about that name. All right? But I like to give it the same name as the class that it's basically driving and add driver to it. That's just my way of thinking. All right, if you had another instructor, if you look at a book, they might do it a totally different way, which again is totally fine. After you put that in, hit enter, and it's going to create your new file. Okay? Like I said, I don't know, there might even be less than I think. There's about 30 lines that we're going to put in right now. And then we'll be able to run it and see whether or not it works. First thing we want to do is add a main. Remember the shortcut for adding main? PVSM. Private, void, no, PSVM. PSVM. Public, static, void, main. Type in those 4 characters, hit enter, and it makes a main for you. If you don't like that, you can type them in yourself. It doesn't really matter. All right? Now we're going to do something we have not done before. We are going to create a series of payroll objects. Everybody hear me? All right. So the first one we're going to create, you can use any names you want. Since I'm creating about 5 of them, I use my family's name. You don't like that, you can make them Christian 1, Christian 2, it doesn't matter. All right? But I'm going to come in here. I'm about to make a payroll object, or a Payroll05 object. I'm calling it Jeff, and it's going to be a new Payroll05. Just like that. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Okay? And then, and this might look screwy, I'm not going to use option panes and stuff. I'm just going to print it right on the screen like I showed you. So I'm going to type in system.out.println Jeff. It's like that. Okay? Again, you want to use your name or someone else's name, I don't care. But what you have to understand, and if everybody could please not watch me, but watch the screen right now. Would you agree we're creating a new payroll object? Would you agree we're passing it nothing? Would everybody agree with that? That means when it gets over here, it is going to call what? It is going to call our noarg constructor. So it should set my first name to FNU, first name unknown. It should set my last name to LNU, last name unknown. It should set my hours to 0. It should set my rate to 0. And it will probably do the multiplication. But 0 times 0 should give you 0 for a gross pay. Does that make sense? All right. I'm going to see if that's going to happen. How? I'm going to do a file save all on my main that I just created, and I'm going to run it. There's my first name, FNU. There's my last name, LNU. My hours worked 0, my hourly rate 0, and when it multiplies one by the other, my gross pay is 0. For you to really be able to start really understanding object-oriented programming, if this doesn't make sense to you, then go back and play computer. In other words, sit there and literally look from the code and say, okay, what's it going to do next? That's the only way you're going to learn it. There's no magical formula for this. Sorry. If there was, I'd be more than happy to give it to you. Now, I'm going to create another object. Okay? Payroll05. I'm going to use my wife. I'm going to say Sandy equals new Payroll05. But this time, I'm going to give it a first name. Not Sandra. I'm going to give it a last name. I'm going to give it an hours worked, and I'm going to give it an hourly rate. Right? And I don't need that parenthesis there. There. Do you notice again, please look on the screen, John, I know you brought this up yesterday, that the system automatically lets me know. Don't type in the H, don't type in the R. It's letting me know hours are 50 and rate is 10. Those are put in there as like editor helpers. I don't know if there's a name for them. I have no idea. But the point is, I think you'd all agree, I'm passing in 1, 2, 3, 4 things. So the system will go back over to the other file, look on the screen please, and it'll say, can't call that constructor, that one expects no arguments. Oh look, here's one that expects 4 arguments. So it's going to call set first name, set last name, set hours, and set rate. And when it calls set first name, that'll be Sandy or Sandra. Set last name, that'll be Scott. Set hours, that'll be 50. Set rate, that'll be 10. In other words, they'll all be valid. So when I print this out by just saying, oops, system.out.println Sandy, all right, now it should say what? First name Sandra, last name Scott, hours worked 50, hourly rate 10, gross pay $550. That's what it should say. So I'm going to check. I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to run it. And then I'm going to look in here and see if indeed that's what it tells me. Probably should have put a blank line in here, so it's going to run the two together, but that's all. It didn't. Sandra, Scott, 50, 10, 550. All right. Now, you might say, well, that's good. You pretty much tested it. Everything works. No, I didn't. I have to come back and start writing a lot of tests now where I test and don't put in a first name, don't put in a last name, don't put in, put in an hours worked that's out of range, put in a rate that's out of range. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to create a third object. We'll call it Taylor for my oldest daughter equals new Payroll05. I'm not going to give it any name. I'm breaking the rules on purpose. I'm not going to give it any first or last name. I'm going to give it an out of range hours. I'm going to put 1,000 in there, and I'm going to give it an out of range rate, -4. Now, what I just did may or may not make sense to you. So again, I'm trying to play computer here. So notice for first name, I passed in nothing. So the system should automatically change that for me to FNU, first name unknown. For last name, I put in nothing. So it should automatically change that to LNU, for last name unknown. All right? For hours worked, I put in 1,000. That's out of range. I think I just reset it to 0. And for rate, it's also out of range. I think I reset that to 0. Okay? So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it again. There's with nothing. There it is. And since they're all out of range, it's just like I put nothing in there. You see that? As a really good software developer, there's what? There's there's I don't know. I'd have to figure out the exact number of permutations. There's probably 24 different permutations I'd have to test to make sure that they all worked. All right. The other thing is, now you say, okay, so let's say I tested all of them. Now I'm done, right? No. What didn't I test yet? You actually know the answer to this. Would you agree that right now every one of these is out of range? Would you agree with that? All right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come back in there and I'm going to say Taylor.setName, and I'm going to set her first, set first name. I'm going to set that to Taylor. And then I'm going to do a Taylor.set last name, and she's married now, so I'm going to put in Bumpus. That's her last name. Then Taylor.set hours. Let's say she worked a lot of hours. We'll set it to 80. Taylor.set rate. Let's set it to 30. I'm just making these up. They have no significance. System.out.println Taylor. All right, I'll go right back to it in just a second, but let's run it first. Okay, so here it was, and I called my set routines. Please look on the screen. It was all the default values, Notice now I've reset first name to Taylor, the last name to Bumpus, the hours worked to 80, the hourly rate to 30, and with my overtime, all right, my straight time would be 40 times 30, which is 1,200. My overtime is what, 50 hours? No, 40 hours times 30 times 1.5. Together that gives me 3,000. Now I'm starting to go in and really test. All right? And I don't know if this is convincing you, or if you're thinking this is just a cluster, or what. All right? But, like I said, this is the way things are done in Java. The good news is some of the stuff that you do, in fact, a lot of the stuff that you'll do in Android, you don't have to get into it this heavy. All right? But I figured you had to know this. I think this is a better language for showing you object-oriented terminology than C# is. That's my feeling, whether that's right or wrong. Again, I think that's plenty for today. We still have almost an hour left. I understand that. But if I start going into the next stuff, you're going to leave here and your head's really going to be spinning. So tomorrow, what we're going to do is, again, we'll first talk about what interfaces are. Then we will go over again, we've already done it, what inheritance is. Then we will go back to our Payroll04 example, and we'll rewrite that using this type, all right, of Java, so to speak. All right? And then the idea is if we do that tomorrow, then the next day what we'll do is we will add exception handling into that. All right? And that's a whole whatever all by itself. Now, this is the last thing, but if you look up on the screen, please. I found the thing I told you. I said, thought I sent that to you because I did send it to you. All right? The first thing I am supposed to tell you this, and maybe you saw me put this up there before, maybe you didn't, I don't know. Is it here? Yeah. They already want you to start thinking about graduation. Graduation will be Saturday, May 9th. If you've never been there before, it's at the Chaffetz Arena. If you go on, I think it's 64, you take it out towards past Chesterfield, towards St. Louis, you almost run right into it. You can get off, I don't know what the exit is, but you can get within about a half a mile of it. If you plan on walking graduation, and if you plan on, walking in the procession, you have to wear a robe. I believe they're free. I could be wrong, but I think they're free. Okay? Chris says they're free. Chris knows. So that's fine. I believe you. All right, so that's it. I will tell you, they tell you here to arrive at 9 o'clock in the morning. Even though it's a pain in the butt, I would tell you to arrive at 8 if you can, because it's not a big parking lot. Not only that, don't ask me why they do this, but every year when Rankin does this, there is some kind of a women's run on the same day, at the same time. So a lot of times as you're either coming in or leaving, you see a bunch of women running. I could care less if it's women, men, it doesn't matter. I wish they wouldn't have it the same day as that. I wish they could, but it's happened like that the last 3 or 4 years. And last year, it was raining pretty badly. Okay? The earlier you come, the better the parking spot you can get. If you come later, you might have to park on the road and walk quite a ways. I'm just telling you that. Charles asks us to get there. I got there last year at 7, and he was already there, and he was like, why are you guys so late? Okay? We don't get paid for being there either. So, all right. And as it says, you begin lining up. They literally make you sit there for an hour in line. Why, I don't have a foggiest clue. And then the procession begins at 10:30. The whole thing's over at about 12. All right? By no means do you have to go to this. you are more than welcome to go to this. Last year, none of my graduates went. It made me feel kind of bad, to be honest with you. All right? Nobody went. I had 5 of them. No, I don't want to go. Whatever. Now, I can understand Devin not going because he's already graduated. He actually can come back if he wants to. But my hope is one or more of you will go through it. If none of you do, then none of you do. All right? But the point is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this PDF. Oh, there's the directions. I'm going to take this PDF and I'm going to forward it to each and every one of you. You make your own decision. But I do believe that if you are going to walk the line, as they say, where is it? The deadline to order your cap and gown is February 24th. Now he's what? Geez, that's, 6 weeks. Yeah. We had problems last year. Guess what? Here's a funny thing. No problems in St. Louis, problems in Wentzville. All right? There were a couple people who got wrong sizes or didn't get one or whatever. So the sooner you do it, the better off you are. Again, if you don't want to, then don't. But I will take, by the end of this period, I will take this email and I will forward it to each and every one of you. All right, now, last thing. Sorry. This is what I sent you last Friday or something like that. That said, almost, welcome back. On Monday, 1/6, we will first go over the syllabus. True. Then we'll go over this list of URLs. We didn't. Then we will begin coding Java. We already did that. But there are about a dozen or so URLs on here. This has been sent to all of you. You're all right here. You say, well, geez, I know I don't have it. Just tell me and I'll send it to you again. All right? This is the W3 Schools Java Programming Language tutorial. This is Java T-Points Java tutorial. They're both good. I've gone through them. This is java2s.com, which is just one of the coolest sites. It's ugly as hell, but it's got information on virtually every programming language, including Java. This, please look on the screen. See this? The Busy Coder's Guide to Android Development. That is a free online PDF. It is a 731-page book. You can buy this book, and you may say, well, why the hell would I want to buy it? Because then you have to pay, it's like $5 or $10 a year. The guy updates the book every year. So this might be a year or two behind. But I've looked at it in past years. It's pretty doggone good. All right? Let's see. There is this, 150 Java interview questions and answers. It's another PDF. And it's like Java interview quest. There you go, interview questions and answers. So I gave you that URL if you're interested. If you're not, then don't look at it. Here are some core Java tutorials from Java Code Geeks. They have this is a beginning one. This is an advanced one. This, if you look up on the screen, please. This one, when we get into working with Android Studio, you might want to bring this one up. I subscribe to RayWenderlich.com. He's a developer who has hired probably 20 or 30 or 50 people to work for him. He does both iOS stuff and Android stuff. You can subscribe to him and his network and stuff for free if you want to. That particular thing right there, it's another, I think it's a PDF. I'll have to look. It might not be. No. So let me bring it up on here. There it is. Nope. Nope. There it is. It's an article called Android Studio Tips and Tricks. I can't make a copy of it. The way they've got it set up, the way it's formatted, it won't let me copy the stuff. I'm not going to go back in there and grab all these pages and manually fix them. All right, but it's really, really well done. They've got some stuff you can download, and they've got a bunch of shortcuts and stuff for using the Android Studio IDE. Okay, so that is it. We are going to talk a little bit about lists before we go into this, but again, my goal is Monday or Tuesday of next week at the latest, we will do a hands-on test in Java. There will probably be 2 programs. I don't know what they are because I didn't write the test yet. All right, so we will do that. But tomorrow we will write 1 program as a class, and it'll probably take a lot of the period. If we get done early, great. We'll start on the next one. If it's like this where it's around 3 something, we'll probably only do 1. Thursday we'll do another one. Then I will ask you on Thursday, where are people? In other words, by that time we'll have done 7 programs. Does everybody have those done? Or darn close to it? All right? Then if you do, we can start on Android even before we go and take our test. Because one of the things I'm going to do next week, you're all going to get your tablet. All right? And you're going to say, well, how do I hook it up? I'm going to let you figure that out. I'm going to give you a URL that does it. But that's what I did last year with people, and most of them were happy that they had it like that. They said then they really learned how to set it up. You can run these without ever using a tablet. There is a built-in emulator in Android Studio that you can use. But if you want to see how it looks on an actual device, you'll be able to run it on a tablet and see just how it looks. All right? So it's 3:37. Sorry, I got to keep you here for 48 more minutes. But if you are behind, it gives you a chance to catch up. If you are totally caught up, then I would start looking through some of these URLs that I gave you. Again, I would really, really strongly recommend, if you want to start reading, either that or start reading what we're going to be doing in class, which is this thing, the Android Developer Guide from Google. Okay? Questions? All right, I'm done then.